The NFL media has made it very clear who the Buffalo Bills are going to be targeting with a 26th overall pick in the NFL draft this upcoming Thursday. The guy at number 1 in this video is a guy that you're probably not expecting, so be sure to stay tuned and watch the entire video so you figure out who these guys are. Now, the first guy on this list is someone who's being talked about quite a lot right now leading up to the NFL draft, but he is not the most likely pick for the Buffalo Bills entering this draft. So let's get into him really quickly before we can move on to the guys that are more likely to be selected. And that guy is going to be Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver out of ASU. Now, he is one of the best wide receivers linked to the Buffalo Bills so far in this draft process. He has met with the team, and he's probably the consensus number 1 wide receiver. Now, the reason why there's a chance that he falls to the Bills at pick 26, but why it's probably not likely anymore, is because of his injury history. He's had a bunch of major injuries in previous seasons, including a hamstring injury that kind of derailed him this offseason, leading up to the combine and into the draft process. But on April 17th, just 4 days ago, he held a workout where he looked pretty good, pretty explosive. So the Bills might not be able to pick him at pick 26 anymore that they once hoped just a little bit ago. But if the Bills do want to swing big and trade up in the draft for Jordyn Tyson, he would immediately be one of the best options that the Bills have had since Stefon Diggs' departure a couple years back. And dare I say, he has the potential to be even better than DJ Moore as soon as year 1 in this offense if the Bills were to get him. Over the last 2 years at ASU, he's had over 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns, which is absolutely incredible. But this is the best option that the Bills can definitely go after. But this next guy is a bit of a safer pick. And that next guy is going to be linebacker CJ Allen out of Georgia. Now, if you guys know one thing about the Georgia Bulldogs is that they create some dogs on defense, and CJ Allen is no exception. The Bills need to reload their linebacker room as they have right now Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. But that's about it when it comes to the linebacker room. Matt Milano is still not back with the team, and neither is Shaq Thompson. Now, those are two guys I'm sure the Bills will be interested in bringing back potentially after the draft process. But the fact of the matter is they still need another linebacker to add to this front 7. And CJ Allen would be one of the perfect guys. He's a very aggressive player on defense at the linebacker position. While he's not the best coverage linebacker, he's a very, very good run stopper and a great tackler. He had 85 tackles and 4 sacks last season. And obviously, like I said, he's a better run defender than coverage defender. But he would fit in perfectly in his linebacker room next to Terrell Bernard, who I think his injuries kind of derailed his entire season last year and made me and a lot of fans included think that he was not really up to par anymore or as good of a player as he could be. But I think a healthy Terrell Bernard paired with a CJ Allen at pick 26 could be a dangerous linebacker room. Obviously, it's not a flashy pick, but it could be a long-term starter like Matt Milano was in this defense for so long. Now, coming in at number 3 on this list is going to be defensive tackle Kayden McDonald out of Ohio State. And while this is obviously not a flashy pick or even number 1 on my list, this is probably the guy who I think is probably the safest, but also the guy that I'd feel the most comfortable with the Buffalo Bills taking at the 26th overall pick, except for the guy at the number 2 position. So you guys are going to want to stay for that. But Kayden McDonald has been linked heavily to the Buffalo Bills. He's going to be a perfect defensive tackle in this Bills defense if he were to be the pick for the team. He's a big interior lineman. He's a big boy, which fills a big need for the Bills, as we do need a nose tackle. There's a big defensive lineman in this room next to Deion Walker. And the Bills have been linked to him heavily, like I said, but also they've been linked to other big defensive linemen in the middle of the defense. So he's just the best option out of all the guys that the Bills have been linked to at that certain position. Now, he's a big run-stopping tackle. Only two sacks in his college career, which spanned 3 years, but he did have 26 run stops just last season, so he was absolutely phenomenal. But now we're going to get into a player that the Bills fans have definitely wanted quite a bit throughout this draft process. But before we get into that player, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you made it this far into the video. The goal is 1,000 by the NFL draft, which starts in 2 days, and we are 54 subs away, so any support would greatly help the channel and myself trying to get to that goal of 1,000 before the NFL draft. But without further ado, let's get into the number 2 player, which I think a lot of Bills fans definitely want on this team. The guy that I have number 2 on my list that the Bills have been closely linked to is going to be wide receiver out of Texas A&M, Casey Concepcion. Now, Casey Concepcion has been probably the guy that Bills fans have wanted the most throughout this entire draft process from beginning to end. He's a dynamic wide receiver who would perfectly fit Josh Allen's style of play because he has been similarly, compared to a wide receiver of the name Stefon Diggs. Now, obviously, hopefully, he doesn't have the same off-the-field issues as Stefon Diggs does, but Casey Concepcion on the field looks exactly like Stefon Diggs. And me, myself, I am not a guy who watches film. I'm just going to put that out there. I do not watch film. The only 2 guys I've watched film on, though, are Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. And let me tell you guys something. When watching Casey Concepcion, watching his first 10 snaps that I've ever seen of Casey Concepcion. I was like, this guy looks exactly like Stephon Diggs with the ball in his hands and even running routes. He looks exactly like Stephon Diggs. I knew it, and I didn't even watch film, but all these guys are making these mock drafts, making these player comparisons. They see the same thing in Casey Concepcion that even I do, who has no idea what to even look for in watching college film. Now, obviously, like I said, he could immediately impact this offense. With not with Stephon Diggs, with DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir also paired up with him. Now, last year he had 61 receptions for 919 yards and 9 touchdowns. So he's a big time playmaker. He can, I know you guys don't like them, but he can run his screen route really well. He could get open on those bubble routes, but he can also get open at all 3 levels of the field. He can make defenders look silly in open space. But Bills fans, that is the guy that I think a lot of people have wanted. But his number 1 selection, like I said, is probably going to shock you. So let's get into that right now. And admittedly, this is the guy that I've not really covered at all heading up to the NFL draft, just because I did not think the Bills would be looking to take him at pick 26. But over the last week, a lot of mock drafts have linked this player to the Buffalo Bills. And that's going to be edge rusher out of UCF, Malachi Lawrence. Now, tomorrow in my video, I will be dropping a video breaking down Malachi Lawrence, as well as some other guys that the Bills could definitely be looking at in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft on Thursday. And on Thursday, please make sure to stay tuned to my channel, as I will be dropping my immediate reactions to the Buffalo Bills and what they do on draft night, whether they trade up and make a pick, whether they trade back, or whether they stay put at pick 26 and make the selection. I will be giving you guys my instant reaction as soon as the draft is over for the Buffalo Bills. Let's break down Malachi Lawrence and who he is. So obviously, like I said, he's an edge rusher, which the Buffalo Bills need. We have not brought back Joey Bosa just yet. And our outside linebackers right now, while we do have Bradley Chubb and Gregory Rousseau as our starters, which I absolutely love, you have Michael Hoyt, who's still dealing with that injury, still coming back, and you have to expect that he will be a little bit slow at the beginning of the season, at least, just getting back to form. Then we have Javon Solomon and Landon Jackson as some backup outside linebackers, so clearly we still need some help at the edge position, at the backup position, and Malachi Lawrence could perfectly do that in his rookie year with the Buffalo Bills. Now, he has shown up in a lot of mock drafts, like I've said. He's been linked to the Bills quite a bit recently. Now, if the Bills want to play it safe, I think this is the pick. What I want to see the Bills do is, if they have to trade up for Casey Concepcion, I want them to trade up for him. If they have to trade up for Kayden McDonald, I want them to get Kayden McDonald. But this is a guy who I think the Bills could end up going after in this upcoming draft. Now, in 2025, however, he did have a pretty good season. 40 pressures and 7 sacks. Now, obviously, when you're taking edge rusher in the first round of the draft, you kind of want to see a guy who's getting double-digit sacks, but that is not Malachi Lawrence. He is more of a Gregory Rousseau type of build, big, long arms, and he could fit in pretty well, actually, in this Bills defense. I have to break him down more in my video tomorrow, but, the more I, talk myself about Malachi Lawrence, the more I talk myself into the Bills maybe making that pick. But, yeah, if I had to bet on any pick right now for the Buffalo Bills to make, I'm kind of thinking that Malachi Lawrence could be the guy for the team. So, Bills fans, this video was strictly just telling you guys the 5 guys I had seen mocked the absolute most to the Buffalo Bills. I gave you guys my 2 picks I want the team to make, either Kayden McDonald or Casey Concepcion, with Malachi Lawrence being a guy who I'm still a bit hesitant on. But Bills fans, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who do you want the team to take in this upcoming NFL draft? Which player do you think is the safest pick for the Bills? And what player do you want the Bills to get that maybe is a hot take of yours? Maybe it's a guy that wasn't included in this video, but a guy that you really want the Buffalo Bills to go after. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. All things draft related. We are just 2 days away from the future of the Buffalo Bills hopefully being changed forever, and hopefully for the better. Now, Bills fans, that is all for today's video. If you guys have made it this far, again, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.